it can feel like looking at Mount Everest when you think about changing your life. It can feel so overwhelming that you'd rather, seems easier just to give up, just to accept what is. I remember that when I was, say, 23, I'd look at my life and I had chronic illness, no energy to do anything, pain, living with a narcissistic schizophrenic who groomed me to the point where I didn't even know, that wall was white. I had no job, CV, no money, nothing. I had nothing. And I was just suffering so deeply every day. I felt like I was in purgatory. I felt like I was in hell. And I was coping through addictions. And my addictions just left me feel like my soul was rotting. And I knew that life shouldn't be this way. I knew that surely I deserved some semblance of normality, some at least peace and happiness. Like, this isn't normal. And whenever I would start to think about a normal life, which felt so far-fetched that I couldn't even visualize it. It felt like a jigsaw that didn't even fit together in the first place. But just little glimpses of, what does a happy, healthy James look like? How do I get there? I felt like I was looking at the biggest mountain in the world, and all I was wearing was a pair of flip-flops. Like, it was just, one and one made five. It just did not go together. And it caused great anxiety in me to know that future that I wanted for myself felt in no way, shape or form possible. And that anxiety, that turmoil, that despair would then lead into more addictions, which would then lead to more rotting of the soul and more despair. It was just never ending. And I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos asking, is it better to just accept fate and just make peace with being a hermit and not going out and not changing my life? And my answer to that is, if you can make peace with that and be happy with that, then do that. But if there's somewhere inside of you that knows you deserve better, knows that you deserve connection, knows that you deserve a better life, then no. And this is the mistake we make, right? Is that when we look at where we're at to where we want to be, it feels impossible. But the mistake is actually looking at where you wanting to be and assuming that it just goes from one to the other. Like, there's a massive leap, a massive life-changing experience. You have a psychedelic experience that changes everything, and then someone knocks on your door and hands you a check for £2 million. Then you fly to Costa Rica and go to it isn't like that. How I got out of the depths of despair, actually, it started with a prayer, right? I'm not a religious person. I'm very skeptical and very take things with a pinch of salt kind of guy. Through all my experiences being groomed by a schizophrenic and thinking their reality was my reality for a long time and realizing it was bullshit. It's like a cult type thing. I take things with a pinch of salt. But in the depths of despair, I felt like I was in hell. I prayed. I saw no way out. Like you, it felt too overwhelming. It felt like it wasn't possible to change my life. So I prayed. And what ended up happening is my schizophrenic mum decided it would be a great idea to go and seek help somewhere else, right? I didn't know whether she was going to be gone a week, a month, a year. I didn't know. But when she left, I realised that this was an opportunity for me to have a break, to see the trees in the forest, and work on getting myself out of this situation. So the same situation still applied, but I still had a breathing space from all the emotional abuse, right? So how did it change my life? It was all the small things I did consistently every day of caring for myself, having compassion for myself, not allowing this inner critic to overrule me every single waking hour of the day. Looking after myself, having a good sleep routine, eating whole foods, being kind to myself, being the teacher I needed, being the parent I needed. Stepping away from all this stimulation, all this intense video games, Call of Duty, competitive games, RTS, watching all these TV shows, all this crap, gone. My world was negative enough without inviting it in the form of media. All the news had gone. I stopped watching Alex Jones. I stopped inviting pollution into my head, right? I'm not saying that Alex Jones is pollution, like he says some truthful things, but I'm saying I was already in the depths of hell. I don't need to know what these paedophiles are doing. You know, I can't do anything about it, right? I needed positivity. So I got rid of all that junk, right? Got rid of all of it. I started having compassion for myself and my situation and doing things I knew would be good for me. Having a really early bedtime, unwinding, good sleep routine, eating well, taking care of myself, journaling, doing EFT, meditations. And if I did them for a day or a week, at first I'd be like, I was expecting more than this. But if you picked up a guitar and started strumming and went to a few lessons, would you expect to be like a famous guitarist? It takes time and consistency above all else. So I did everything that I knew was beneficial for me in any given day, consistently, and it changed my playing field. All of a sudden I'd wake up and I felt more refreshed, and the burden was less intense, and life didn't feel as hopeless. And then stretch forward to a year, I looked around and I looked at myself in the mirror and I couldn't believe the change in me. And the mistake I made for such a long time was thinking I needed this massive, overwhelming change to happen in my life so that I could feel a normal human being. But all it took was for me to have peace and consistently look after myself in every way I knew how. And not inviting the outside world in, all the bad news that's happening in the world. Not watching made up bad stuff, like watching Dexter kill people, or Game of Thrones, playing Call of Duty, people shooting people's heads off. I only wanted positivity because that's what I wanted. I wanted a more positive experience in here. I wanted a more positive life. I wanted a more positive outlook. I wanted a more positive feeling going forward in my life. So my mind was like, well, surely not inviting more negativity in may help if I can do it consistently. And it did. It really, really changed my life. So if you feel like giving up, just make sure you're not doing it because you're thinking it's going to take some extravagant change, because it's not. It's little steps. The analogy I use in my course that I'm making is that you're in a tunnel, a really, really long, dark tunnel, and there's no light in sight. And you've got a crappy little flash torch that can only see a meter ahead of you. Now, what most people do is that they flash the light to the end of the tunnel and it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. So they panic, they freeze, they don't know what to do, they stop walking, and they freeze still. Where in actual fact, all we need to do is not look at the end of the tunnel. not look to the destination all the time. It's to point it down at the ground and put one foot in front of the other. And if you're walking one foot in front of the other for a year, let's say, you'll get to that final point and you'll go, oh, I'm outside now. Oh, it doesn't feel as dark and gloomy anymore. That's what it's like when you're changing your life. So don't let the gravity of your situation make you feel like you can't do anything, because you can. You just have to make small, consistent steps and look after yourself. Be the teacher you need, be the parent you needed, be the best friend you needed, right? Encourage yourself. Be the hero of your own movie. And just keep going. And your life will change. If you imagine yourself as a computer and you've got all this input, whether it's through what you listen to, what you're watching, what you put in your mouth, what you smell, chemicals in your house, whatever it is. If you noted all them down and look to make each of those little experiences more positive and do it consistently, I tell you what, your life will change. Just bear with it and have patience with yourself. I hope that answers the question I got on my YouTube channel about, should I just give up? Thanks for watching, everyone.